Oh, wait, let's unpack this. Imagine a city, a huge sprawling place like Delhi-NCR, really grappling with a challenge that touches everyone. I mean everyone, from the busiest streets to the quietest neighborhoods.
Hmm.
It's something that sparks protests, really heated debates, and, while deeply emotional responses, we're talking about the relationship between people and stray
It's
dogs.
incredibly complex.
Right. And on August 22nd, 2025, a landmark Supreme Court ruling landed, completely reshaping how these animals are managed across the region. It might even set a precedent for the whole country.
It really might. It's a fascinating story of trying to find that balance, that very, very delicate line between public safety and, well, compassion.
And what's so interesting, as you pointed out before we started, is how the court got there. They started somewhere completely different just days earlier.
Exactly. That's what we want to explore today, that evolution of the decision, what it actually means for the streets of Delhi NCR, and, the huge challenges that lie ahead, not just locally, but potentially nationwide.
Absolutely, because this isn't just abstract policy stuff. It's about real lives, real communities.
Yeah.
We can't ignore the tragic backdrop here. Incidents like the awful case of 6-year-old Chavi Sharma,
Yes.
who died from rabies in Delhi just on July 26, 2025. It brings the urgency right home, doesn't it? That search for a way to coexist.
It really does. It highlights the human costs starkly.
So let's rewind just a little bit. To understand this big shift, we need to look at where the court was just weeks before. On August 11th, 2025,
Hmm.
a two-judge bench, Justices Pardiwala and Mahadavan, they issued a very different kind of directive.
Very different. Stark, as you said earlier.
Yeah. They told civic authorities in Delhi NCR, round up all the stray dogs within 8 weeks.
8 weeks. That's a tight timeline.
And here's the kicker: permanently relocate them to shelters. No possibility of them ever coming back to the streets. None.
And that came out of a Suomotu case, right?
Mhm.
Which means the court itself initiated it.
Exactly. The case was titled City Hounded by Strays, Kids Pay Price. The court was directly reacting to these alarming reports about dog bites, especially cases leading to rabies in children. That poor girl, Chavi Sharma, her case really focused everyone's minds on the urgency.
Understandably so. The initial aim was pretty clear then.
Hmm.
Make Delhi NCR stray-free. Prioritize safety for vulnerable people, kids, the elderly, visually impaired folks, people facing higher risks on the streets.
But that August 11th order, it didn't land quietly, did it?
Well, not at all. It triggered a massive wave of protest, just enormous concern. You had animal welfare activists, major NGOs like FIAPO, PETA India, vets, ordinary citizens. They felt it was just impossible logistically and, frankly, inhumane.
Yeah.
Protests popped up across Delhi, even near Indigate.
Right.
The core argument was, look, mass relocation isn't just cruel, it actually messes with dogs' territorial nature. Could even make things worse, potentially increase aggression.
Because you create a vacuum.
Exactly. And crucially, they argued it flew in the face of established protocols, specifically the animal birth control rules, the ABC rules from 2023.
Okay, let's talk about those ABC rules. What do they actually say? And what was the alternative people were pushing for?
So the ABC rules, updated in 2023, they basically provide the legal framework for humane stray dog management in India. And they mandate TNVR as the primary strategy.
TNVR, trap, neuter, vaccinate, return.
That's the one. It's seen as the scientific, humane method. You trap the dogs, you sterilize them surgically so they can't reproduce, you vaccinate them against rabies and other stuff, and then the key part, you return them to their original territories.
Why return them?
Because they hold that territory. It helps create a stable, vaccinated dog population that gradually decreases over time, and it prevents new, unvaccinated dogs from just moving in to fill the space. It avoids that vacuum effect we mentioned.
Makes sense.
So the activists were saying this is the way, not mass roundups. And the outcry was so loud, so significant, that the Chief Justice of India, B.R. Gavai, actually stepped in.
Oh, really?
Yes. He reassigned the case to a larger three-judge bench. They heard all sides and then reserved judgment on August 14th, just a few days after the initial order.
So a really rapid response to the public concern.
It was. And it really poses that fundamental question, doesn't it? How do you balance those immediate safety worries, which are very real, with the long-term, humane, scientifically supported strategies? It's not easy.
No. Definitely not. Which brings us to August 22nd and this new modified ruling from that three-judge bench, Justices Nath, Mehta, and Anjoria. A really significant shift, you called it. More nuanced, more balanced.
I think so, yes. It attempts to bridge that gap.
Okay, let's break down what it actually says. First up, what happens to dogs once they're captured now?
It's a complete U-turn from the August 11th order. Now, stray dogs, once caught, must be sterilized, dewormed, and vaccinated against rabies. Then they are returned to their original localities.
Back to where they came from.
Exactly. The only exceptions are dogs confirmed to have rabies, suspected rabies cases, or dogs showing genuinely aggressive, dangerous behavior. Those dogs stay in shelters for treatment or, if necessary, isolation.
So it directly lines up with those ABC rules and TNVR.
Precisely. It affirms TNVR as the main strategy for humane management.
Now, what about feeding? That's always a huge point of conflict.
A really big one. And this ruling makes a major change. Feeding stray dogs just anywhere on public streets is now prohibited.
Banned.
Banned on public streets, yes. The court basically acknowledged that while often well-intentioned, random feeding can lead to dogs gathering, which causes problems, risks to pedestrians, traffic issues, that sort of thing.
But they didn't just ban it, did they? They proposed an alternative.
Correct. Instead of just a ban, municipal authorities now have a job to do. They have to create designated feeding zones in each local area, each ward.
How would that work?
They need to be tailored to the local dog populations, clearly marked with notice boards. And if people violate the ban, feed dogs outside these zones, they could face legal action.
Okay, so structure and consequences. What about making sure this actually happens? Reporting problems.
Good question. Each municipal body has to set up a dedicated helpline.
A helpline for
citizens to report two things: violations of the feeding ban and also aggressive dogs that might need attention.
And is there a time frame for response?
Yes, and this is critical. There's a mandated 4-hour response time for complaints about specific dogs needing capture or assessment.
4 hours? That's ambitious.
It is. It puts significant pressure on the authorities.
What about the places to actually put dogs that need shelter? The infrastructure.
The court stressed that too. Civic bodies need to create proper dog shelters in pounds. Not just basic kennels, but places equipped with vets, dog-catching teams, even CCTV monitoring.
Is there any sign of that happening?
Well, we know the MCD, the Municipal Corporation of Delhi, has apparently identified a big 85-acre plot out in Gogaderi for large-scale shelters. They're supposedly looking for more land, too. So there's at least stated intent on building capacity.
Okay. And this ruling, it's not just for Delhi-NCR. You mentioned it goes wider.
That's potentially the most far-reaching part. The court impleaded all states and union territories.
Impleaded meaning they're now part of the case.
Essentially, yes. They've been brought into the legal proceedings. It makes them parties to the case, meaning the court's directives now extend to them. They have to participate in developing a unified national strategy.
Wow.
And it also means all related cases currently sitting in various high courts across the country get transferred to the Supreme Court.
So one single national approach instead of lots of different local rules.
That's the goal, a cohesive policy.
And finally, accountability. Who makes sure all this gets done?
Clear measures there.
Mm.
Municipal authorities have to file affidavits. Those are sworn written statements for the court detailing how they're complying with the ABC rules, what resources they have, etc.
So they have to report formally.
Yes. And a really interesting move, the court also required the original petitioners and NGOs who challenged that first August 11th order to deposit funds.
Deposit money. Why?
Individuals had to put up 25,000, NGOs, 2 lakh each. The idea seems to be that this money will help fund the creation of these new shelters. It signals a kind of shared responsibility.
Like, if you're involved in the issue, you need to contribute to the solution.
Something like that. It's a message that everyone involved needs to play a part in making this actually work on the ground.
It's a very comprehensive ruling then. But let's talk scale. Why is this such a massive issue, specifically in Delhi-NCR?
Oh, the scale is just immense. Connecting this to the bigger picture, the stray dog population in Delhi-NCR is, well, estimates are all over the place. Some say 300,000, others over 1 million.
1 million strays.
Potentially. And here's the really staggering part. The last proper official census was way back in 2012. It reported only 60,000 strays in Delhi itself.
2012. That's ancient history in demographic terms.
Exactly. Think how much the city has grown since then. This lack of current reliable data is a huge problem. It's not just about numbers. It makes effective planning almost impossible. How do you plan shelters, vaccination drives, allocate staff, if you don't even know how many dogs you're dealing with.
You're flying blind.
Completely. It makes even the best policy incredibly difficult to implement effectively.
And the human impact is stark. We mentioned the bites.
Right? In 2024, Delhi reported over 25,000 dog bite cases. Over 3,000 in just January 2025 alone.
That's a lot.
It is. And rabies. It's still a terrifying reality. It accounts for something like 96% of rabies cases in India, mostly from dog bites.
Really?
And again, thinking of Chavi Sharma, that's the devastating human cost when things go wrong.
But it's not just health, is it? It's the social tension, too.
Absolutely. It creates real divisions in communities. You have many people who see these dogs as companions. They feed them, care for them. They're part of the local fabric.
Community dogs.
Right. But then you have others. Residents' welfare associations. Figures like the former Minister Vijay Goel, who strongly support control measures. They're worried about safety, especially for kids or people on scooters having accidents.
So menace versus member of the community.
It's a deeply polarized debate. One person's street companion is genuinely another person's daily source of fear or risk. It's a classic urban conflict, very personal, very deeply felt.
Given all that, how did people react to this modified ruling, the August 22nd one?
Well, as you'd expect with such a complex issue, it was a real mix.
Okay.
On the positive side, the mayor of Delhi, Rajat Galal Singh, he praised it, said it aligned with what the MCD was already trying to do, sterilize, release, but remove the genuinely dangerous dogs.
That makes sense from their perspective.
Yeah. And Nanita Sharma, a Supreme Court lawyer involved in the case, called it balanced. She felt it hit that sweet spot between public safety and animal welfare.
And the shelter folks.
Sonali Gaba, who runs a shelter in Delhi, she expressed real relief. She said, basically, we trusted the Supreme Court. You can't just label every single dog aggressive without proof. There was a feeling that reason had prevailed over panic.
And the animal welfare groups, they must have welcomed the return to TNVR.
Largely, yes. They pointed out this aligns with global health advice, like from the WHO. TNVR is a recommended approach. They highlighted cities like Jaipur, even Goa, that have seen massive drops in rabies, near zero cases, thanks to consistent sterilization and vaccination.
The proof of concept exists.
Yes. But they also stressed that the initial idea of mass sheltering was just never feasible. The infrastructure isn't there. Remember those numbers. 20 centers, capacity under 5,000 dogs, compared to potentially 1 million plus strays. It just doesn't add up.
But not everyone's sold on this revised plan either.
No. Definitely not. You still have skeptics, like Vijay Goel, the former minister. He basically argues that just sterilizing and vaccinating, even rapidly, might not be enough given the sheer number of dogs. He puts the estimate around 8 lakh or 800,000.
So still a massive number.
Huge. And there's this strong counter-argument you hear often online, too, directed at animal lovers. Don't just feed them on the street. Adopt them. Take responsibility. Put your money where your mouth is, essentially. Shift the burden from public space to private homes.
Right. A call for more direct action from individuals.
Exactly.
Okay, so we have the ruling, we have the reactions, but the big question is always implementation, making it actually work. And it sounds like there are some major hurdles.
Oh, absolutely. Huge logistical and financial challenges. Let's start with infrastructure.
The shelters.
Yeah. As we said, the MCD's current setup is nowhere near adequate. 20 centers, mostly for short-term care, less than 5,000 capacity.
Against maybe 1 million dogs.
The math just doesn't work for mass sheltering. Even just managing the TNVR process effectively, plus housing the aggressive or sick dogs, it requires a massive upgrade. And the cost. Trying to house even a fraction of that million figure permanently would run into hundreds of crores every year, just for basic housing, let alone vet care, food.
And it's not just buildings, it's people too, right?
Exactly. Where do you find enough trained staff? People skilled in humane capture, vets for sterilization and treatment, handlers, shelter managers, on the scale required. It's a massive undertaking.
Especially with that 4-hour response time target for complaints.
Immense pressure on resources that are already stretched thin.
And the data problem persists.
Still no recent census. Without accurate numbers, how do you plan effectively? It's still guesswork.
What about enforcing that feeding ban? That sounds tricky too.
Very tricky. You risk conflict with the community feeders, people who, for better or worse, have been providing care, often for years. They see themselves as guardians.
Right.
And setting up those designated feeding zones, that needs really careful thought. You have to avoid just creating new problems, overcrowding, dogs fighting over resources in these zones, which could actually increase aggression if it's not managed properly.
So unintended consequences are a real risk.
Always. And then there's the biggest piece.
Yeah.
That push for a national policy.
Coordinating everyone.
All the states, territories, municipalities, NGOs, getting everyone on the same page, allocating resources fairly, ensuring consistent standards across the whole country. That's a monumental task. It could take years, honestly, just to get a framework agreed upon, let alone fully implemented.
It really highlights the gap between legal directives and on-the-ground capacity, doesn't it?
A huge gap. India's legal aspirations for animal welfare might be advancing, but the infrastructure and funding seem to be lagging way behind.
Okay, stepping back a bit. India's stray dog issue is massive, maybe
Yeah.
60 million nationwide, one of the highest in the world. But other countries face this too. Are there lessons we can learn from elsewhere?
Definitely. While India's scale is unique, the core challenges aren't entirely new. We can look at different approaches.
Like,
Well, Morocco, for instance. Since 2019, they've had a national TNVR program. They invested significantly, around $23 million, into sterilization and vaccination centers. And they've seen a real drop in rabies.
so sustained national investment in the TNBR model can work.
It suggests it can, yes. Then you have somewhere like Austin, Texas. They operate as a no-kill city.
Meaning?
They aim for and achieve a very high live release rate, over 90%, mostly through really strong adoption and rehabilitation programs. Now, Austin's contest is very different scale, culture around pets, but it shows what's possible with intense community engagement and focus on adoption.
Okay. Any other examples?
Turkey is interesting. Their recent law from 2024 mandates sterilization and adoption efforts, but it also controversially allows for euthanasia of sick or aggressive dogs if shelters are full or adoption fails after a certain time.
Ah, so that brings its own ethical debates.
Huge debates
Mhm.
about shelter capacity, about when euthanasia is acceptable. It reminds us that even proposed solutions can be highly contentious and have difficult trade-offs.
So looking at these examples, it really underscores the need for sustained funding, public awareness, humane practices.
And political will. And finding some kind of societal consensus. That might be the biggest challenge in India, given the sheer scale and the very diverse, sometimes conflicting cultural views on animals and their welfare.
Absolutely. These are all things India needs to weave into its national strategy if this ruling is going to lead to real lasting change.
Agreed.
So wrapping this up, this August 22nd ruling feels like a really pivotal moment. It seems to carve out a more pragmatic middle path, doesn't it?
I think it tries to. By endorsing TMBR but also tackling the feeding issue with designated zones, it offers a potential blueprint. It acknowledges that dogs are part of the urban landscape, but tries to manage the risks and conflicts more systematically.
Safer streets, but ideally without just resorting to mass removal or cruelty.
That seems to be the aim. But, and it's a huge but, success depends entirely on execution.
Right, the implementation hurdles we talked about.
Exactly. Prioritizing the funding, training the people, genuinely partnering with NGOs instead of fighting them, and, critically, finally getting an accurate dog census done. Without those pieces, the ruling remains just words on paper.
But if they can make it work,
Then, for you, the listener, it could mean a clear path towards cities where kids can play safely and dogs can coexist more harmoniously. A future built on responsible management, scientific methods, and hopefully genuine care.
so as Delhi-NCR starts down this new, challenging road, the rest of the country is definitely watching. It leaves us with a question, maybe for everyone listening. What's the one small, concrete action you think is most vital for your own community to take right now to help turn these kinds of directives into a real, tangible improvement for both people and our four-legged neighbors?
The crucial question for everyone to consider.
Indeed. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive today. We hope you'll continue thinking about these complex issues in your own communities.